Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, I don't know how the Europeans will react to this one. Are they going to blame the victim here, or we will not be able to tell who the victim is? So what happens? We have a European Union country that banned Ukrainian grain. So they say, well, my fellow humans, you send us contaminated grain with a pesticide that is, or pesticide that is banned in the European Union, so we can't accept your grain. So there's a problem because Ukraine at this point can do no wrong. Therefore, this EU country doing that is in hot water. So see how these weasels are going to take care of this issue. This article comes from Russia Today. April 14, 2023. EU nation bans Ukrainian grain. Slovakia has destroyed a 1,500-ton shipment contaminated with a banned pesticide. Slovak authorities have banned the processing and sale of Ukrainian grain after discovering a dangerous pesticide in a shipment, the country's agriculture ministry announced on its website on Thursday. According to the statement, the ban will cover all grain of Ukrainian origin and flour made from it that is currently stored in the country. Earlier this week, Slovak authorities discovered a 1,500-ton shipment of Ukrainian grain to be contaminated with chlorofyrfos, a pesticide subject to an EU-wide ban. And I'm quoting, the presence of a pesticide which is not authorized in the EU and has a negative impact on human health was confirmed in the controlled sample, the ministry said. The country's agriculture minister, Samuel Vulcan, said earlier on Thursday that the entire shipment would be destroyed. The duration of the ban is not specified, but the ministry noted that in the coming days the authorities intend to collect samples of Ukrainian grain and flour stored in Slovakia to determine whether it is safe for consumption. The ministry stressed that, and I'm quoting, it does not recommend the import of any Ukrainian grain and its products, end quote, at the moment, and will notify all European Union member states about the findings. Ukrainian grain has been flooding the markets of Eastern Europe in recent months after Brussels permitted duty-free imports from the country to help the products reach customers in Africa and Middle East. Much of the produce, however, stayed in the EU due to logistical constraints. Last month, the Prime Minister of Bulgaria, Hungary, Poland, Romania and Slovakia demanded actions from the European Commission on Ukrainian agricultural imports, calling for the reintroduction of import tariffs. In early April, the countries urged the Commission to buy back accumulated Ukrainian products from them on humanitarian grounds. On April 7, Polish Agriculture Minister Robert Telus said his country had reached a deal with Kiev, which would see Ukrainian grain imports to the country halted, while transit will be allowed but closely monitored, ensuring that the grain does not stay in Poland. So what's going on here? Now, I'm pretty sure, when you build a car, let's say, and you build a car for a certain kind of market, let's say I'm Ford Motors, Ford, United States company, all right? They build Ford and they ship it to Japan. Don't you think that they first look at Japan and they say, hey, those guys are driving on the left side of the street, therefore we're going to build the car a little bit different with a steering wheel on the right side? Don't you think they will do this before they do it for that market? So that's the minimum, the bare minimum requirement. So don't you think when someone sells, let's say, a product in another country or on a continent, European Union in this case, and don't you think that they have specialists who know exactly what kind of chemicals can be used in the toys that they sell to those countries, or grain, food? Don't you think? I think that's 100% basic knowledge and procedure, because I know that certain kind of products from the United States cannot be sold in Europe. I'm talking about food and all that, and vice versa. For that reason, they know. So I don't want to imply here bad intention coming from Ukraine. I would call it negligence. That's what I would call it. But I know that negligence is also considered criminal action. If you kill someone by negligence, that's still a crime. You get punished. Or if you affect someone's health through negligence, again, you still are criminally charged and convicted and so on. So in this case, I don't want to imply that, but shouldn't they have known? 100% they should have known. You don't let the other guys to catch you. That's number one. The second one, imagine that in the context that we live in right now, that grain would have come from another country. Let's say, Russia. What do you think the newspapers in the free world would say about that? Do you think they would say, well, it's okay, we just banned it and we're gonna take care of it for a while and don't do it again. Okay, now we want tariffs again and we're gonna do this. Do you think that they would just slide like that? Or let me see how I think the mass media and the weasel politicians in the West would have commented such a awful situation. They would probably say that the Russians wanted to actually commit genocide. Don't you think? They said it when the Russians, did not allow the grain from Ukraine to be dispersed to the rest of the world, because they didn't allow the grain to come and go without being checked by the Russians being at war with the other guys. And they say, well, you're involved in genocide, economic genocide, and all agriculture, food, whatever. Remember that one? And it was like that. Imagine if this would have happened like that. I'm 99. I see it that way. It doesn't mean, but you see, when they get so, oh my God, oy vey, let me break my, whatever, for the Russians blocking the grain dispersion over the world, and that's their fault, and they're only their fault, because they're blocking the Odessa ports and all that, when the Ukrainians have mines in the water and all that, so the Russians cannot come and beat them up. That's a war over there, but you point the finger only at the Russians, point it however you want. Those were the terms used. Genocide, world famine. Those were the words. I'm not making them up. Look them, click 3 newspapers, and you're going to find it. So, and just an example. That's why I use this one. And it's unfortunate, and I hope they change it. How will they change it? Probably they're going to ship it on a different continent where those chemicals are not, considered affecting humans' life or something, like we're not the same. You know how that works. I know how that works. Sometimes certain countries shipped to Romania certain kind of products that were out of warranty, but the Romanians used them because they didn't have them. But they would not eat them themselves, but they send it to other countries. So I don't even want to think too much about it. So here you have it, my friends. I hope that they are safe. The Ukrainians are going to do what they're supposed to and not use these banned pesticides, in Europe at least. Thank you very much for being with me again today. But you see, the chemicals will affect the human being, so you can't sell it, let's say, you can't send it to, let's say, Africa somewhere, in Zimbabwe, my friends, and say, well, they don't have these restrictions. But you know that that's not okay, but you still do it because there are no restrictions or something, they don't have it. How do you feel about it? I'm just giving you an example. I'm not saying that's the way it is, okay? But on the other hand, the Ukrainian must know that that grain could be sold somewhere else if they use the pesticide. You know what I mean? Otherwise, they would not have used it. But anyway, I don't want to imply any wrongdoing. Wrongdoing was done because they sent it over there. I'm saying probably knowing. They should have known. And the other guys caught them and they defend themselves. Now, are the Slovaks, the Poles, all those guys going to be considered, anti-Ukraine because they don't eat whatever they send? I mean, they were called all kind of names if they didn't send them weapons and money and all that. Yeah, that's the way it is, my friends. Weasels. Like in the kindergarten, that's how it is. The same methods of shaming and all that. Guilt building and throwing shit on one another. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.